Welcome back to Liberty Monday. In this episode, we continue our series on the Declaration of Independence by turning from philosophy to proof. After establishing why government exists and where legitimate authority comes from, the Declaration presents evidence showing how those principles were violated. The grievances are not emotional accusations. They are carefully documented examples meant to demonstrate a sustained pattern of abuse. Each grievance shows how power was used not to secure liberty, but to undermine it. Today, we will focus only on the first two of the 27 grievances. These opening grievances are foundational because they address the most basic requirement of self-government, the ability of a people to make laws for their own welfare. The founders understood that abstract principles alone were not enough to justify independence. If separation from Great Britain was to be morally legitimate, it had to be supported by concrete evidence of wrongdoing. The grievances serve that purpose. They demonstrate how the British Crown had consistently violated the very standards of just government outlined earlier in the Declaration. Importantly, the order of the grievances is intentional. The Declaration begins not with violence or taxation, but with legislative obstruction. This signals how seriously the founders regarded representative lawmaking as the foundation of liberty. Grievance 1. Refusal to assent to necessary laws. Text of the grievance. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. Colonial legislatures regularly passed laws to address local concerns such as public safety, economic stability, land use, and internal governance. Many of these laws required approval from the king or his appointed representatives in order to take effect. This grievance accuses the king of refusing to approve laws that were reasonable, beneficial, and essential to the well-being of the colonies. Why this was a serious abuse? The laws were described as wholesome, meaning they were not radical or reckless. They were necessary for the public good, not for private or partisan gain. The refusal to approve them was repeated rather than isolated. By denying assent to such laws, the Crown stripped colonial legislatures of meaningful authority. Representation became symbolic rather than functional. What this grievance means. This grievance demonstrates a government acting contrary to its purpose. If governments exist to secure rights, then blocking laws needed for public welfare is a fundamental violation of that duty. Grievance 2. Forcing laws to remain suspended. Text of the grievance. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained, and when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. Even when colonial governors were willing to approve urgent legislation, the king often required that such laws be suspended until he personally reviewed them. In theory, this appeared to be oversight. In practice, it functioned as obstruction. Once laws were suspended, the king frequently failed to act on them at all. Why suspension was so damaging? Laws addressed matters of immediate and pressing importance. Governors were prevented from allowing them to take effect. Suspended laws were ignored indefinitely. Urgent problems went unresolved. This grievance highlights not only interference, but neglect. Authority was asserted without responsibility. The deeper constitutional issue. A government that demands control but refuses accountability is inherently unjust. By insisting on final authority over colonial laws while failing to exercise that authority responsibly, the Crown created legal paralysis and uncertainty. How the first two grievances worked together. Taken together, these grievances reveal a deliberate pattern. The first grievance shows active refusal to allow necessary laws. The second shows deliberate delay and neglect of urgent legislation. The result was a system in which colonial legislatures existed in name, but not in power. Authority rested with a distant ruler who was unaccountable to the people affected by his decisions. The Declaration begins with legislative abuses because lawmaking is foundational to liberty. Without the ability to pass and enact laws for the common good, all other rights become fragile. These grievances established that the colonies were not merely dissatisfied with British policy. They were being denied the basic mechanisms of self-government. The first two grievances remind us that liberty erodes when power is centralized, delayed, or disconnected from the people it governs. They show that denial through inaction can be just as destructive as denial through force. The founders viewed these abuses not as administrative failures, but as evidence of a government no longer fit to rule free people. In the next episodes, we will continue examining the remaining grievances one by one, showing how each builds upon the last and strengthens the case for independence. Thank you for watching. As always, stay informed, stay free,